Well, I suppose I ought to show you this fancy trailer I bought and give a little tour of it, I guess. 20-foot deck over, 8 feet wide. I got it from a guy at work, and it wasn't quite what he said it was. I mean, it's a pretty stout trailer, but when he sold it to me, he's like, yeah, brakes work, lights work, it's got 6,000 pound axles, the tires are good. The deck was done, I don't know, 7 years ago, whatever, and that was good. And basically none of that's true. I got it home and I just picked it up and grabbed it. My truck plug-in was all crap, so I couldn't test the brakes or the lights or anything. So fixed my truck, plugged it in, and turned on a turn signal. Every single light on the trailer blinked. So that wasn't good. I'm thinking it was something I did when I wired it, and looked over my truck about 1,000,000 times. Wasn't it. Finally went through the trailer and found in the back here where the splice goes for these rear tail lights, they had just taken the 6 wires, 3 on each side, stripped them back and glommed them all together, all 6 wires, and then just wrapped it in electrical tape. So they were all just connected together. He'd owned this trailer for years and he had no clue. He thought they worked. Whatever. So I rewired that, put all new lights in it, LED lights. They all work now. And then I went to use the brakes, and the brakes didn't work. And I knew I had wired everything up good in the truck, so I had to look at the trailer. So I pulled the wheels off and the drums off and everything, and the brakes were rusted so solid I had to cut them off. So the brakes were no good. And in doing that, I happened to look at the axles, and those are not 6,000 pound axles like he told me, which is probably the biggest reason I bought the trailer. Those are only 3,500 pound axles. Now, he had been running this, he'd been hauling hay with it, and he thought it was good for 12,000 pounds or whatever, so he'd put 8,000 pounds of hay on it and then haul it home. Well, 8,000 pounds of hay plus the trailer on 7,000 pounds worth of axles, not quite enough. So when I was under here doing the brakes, I saw, let's see if I can see it, oh yeah, right there. The wheels have been rubbing into the trailer in a couple of spots. So yeah, not a 12,000 pound trailer. But he also said the tires are great, and this one's not too bad, but they're weather checked in here. I mean, they're not horrible, but they're not great either. So I think what I'm going to do now is I've already put brakes in it so they work, and I fixed the lights. And oh, I forgot about the deck. He said he replaced the deck 6-7 years ago, and he did the water-based stain on it, and of course that didn't hold up, and there are places in the deck that are just, you can poke right through them. They're all rotted away, but overall it's not too bad. But anyway, back to the suspension here. I'm going to do some upgrades to it. I think I want to eventually get some 7,000 pound axles in here, a pair of them, so I can beef it up a little bit. But to do that, basically I got to replace everything, the axles, the rims, tires, all that. So seeing as I put new brakes in it and the tires haven't blown up yet, I think I'm going to kind of piecemeal it. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get 7,000 pound springs. Hopefully I can fit them in there, and throw them 7,000 pound springs in here. Well, 3,500 per spring, 7,000 per axle. Get that started and then run that until either the brakes go out or the tires blow up, whichever I need to get first. And then when that happens, I'll go ahead and upgrade the axles and make this a trailer that I can really haul some stuff with. But I need to fix that issue because he's overloaded it so many times. So I'm thinking I'll start with the springs, and I just won't overload it too much, and it should be good. So I'll get them springs on order, and hopefully we'll be able to fix that. And I've also got to I want to build some sides for it in case I got to haul scrap on it. And I would like to figure out something for ramps in the back, so I can actually drive a car on here or something if I want to. But we're gonna save that for later. We'll get the springs taken care of first, and then yeah, I guess I'll come back to you when I got some springs to put in it. Alright, it's been probably about 2 weeks. I got all my parts in, but it's been 0 degrees or so for about a week, so I haven't done anything. And today it's like 20, but the wind's blowing like crazy, so I don't know how much I'll do. But I came out yesterday, sprayed down all the bolts with some penetrating oil, so hopefully they'll come out. I don't know. But for right now, we're going to warm up this truck. I'm going to get it turned around and hooked up to the trailer and drug over to the garage, and maybe we'll get started on it today, unless it's too windy by the garage, and I'll say forget it and we'll do it tomorrow when it's going to be even warmer. It's going to get up to like 30 tomorrow, so much better weather. Alright, I got the trailer pulled up to the garage. Looks like it's in a decent spot, at least for this side. And I got all my new parts. I got my new springs, plates, some U-bolts, and I think these are called equalizers or something. I don't know, but I got them, and they're new bolts in there. And I've got these two. I don't think I'll be cutting the old ones off. I'll just keep those around. I won't use them, and should be good to go. Let's see if I can crawl under there and loosen some bolts, I suppose. Hopefully the penetrating oil did something. Well, just as I thought, the penetrating oil, she does nothing. I was kind of hoping to avoid cutting all these off, but that's alright. I should be able to snap the U-bolts, except for that one I'll have to cut because I rounded it off because it was so rusty, but I can get those off. I think before I go any further with that, I'm going to try these bolts. Maybe I'll have a better shot. I don't know. I would like to avoid cutting those more than snapping those. They're pretty easy, but we'll see what happens, I guess. Well, working on this old and rusty crap is definitely a workout, but it's coming along. I got the nut off of this one here. Managed to get that loose. And the center part there, I got the nut off that side with the help of a breaker bar and my little wrench there. I just put the wrench up so it was landing against the frame, and then struggled to crank it from this side, but I got it. It's out. Now we'll do the front one. Get that nut off, and then I'll come back, make sure the weight of the trailer's on some jack stands or blocks or something, and I'll go ahead and snap all these guys off or cut them off, whatever I have to do, and then I'll be able to knock these bolts out, hopefully, and both the springs should come down at the same time, and I'll just drag them out of here, and we're ready to slap some new ones in, hopefully. Well, alright, after a couple hours of screwing around in the freezing cold, the springs are out, and you can kind of see how flat that one in particular is compared to the new ones or even the other one there. So that's probably one of the reasons she was rubbing on the bottom of the trailer. That, and well, that's a new bolt. They put a couple of new bolts in, but all these old bolts, you can see they're all wore out. Probably had to replace that one because it snapped at some point. And all the little bushings in here, they're all wore out and gone. So flat springs, wore out bushings, might as well replace them. If I'm going to do that, we'll go with a bigger spring. So I think we'll call it a day for today. I'm pretty cold. Come back tomorrow when it's warmer and set up our new springs on this side, and then probably have to do it all over again on the other side. Alright, it's the next day, and I've got my springs all set up and ready to go back in. The only difference I saw between these two things, obviously the leaf count is bigger on these, but the other thing is these are a bit shorter than what was on it. The ones that were on it were about yay big from hole to hole. So what that's going to do is probably pick the trailer up just a tiny bit, I think, because the way it sits. That'll go down here. So it'll sit like that. So that leaf spring end will be down a bit. I don't think it'll affect anything. So let's slam it in. And then once that's in, we can turn it around and have fun with the other side. I'm going to start in the middle, hang this thing first, and then hang the springs off it, and then come from the back and the front and lift the springs up into those pockets. I think that'll be easier. We'll give it a try and see how it goes. Alright, I've got the center part hung and this rear spring loosely installed. Everything's just kind of loose until I get it all up there. One thing to note is I've got the 3,500 pound axles up here, and they're, I believe, 2 3/8 inch around. So when I got new U-bolts, the standard is like 5.5 inches or something, but since I was putting in heavier springs, I went with a little bit longer. I got 6 1/4, I believe they are, just so I could accommodate this extra spring height. And it seems to have worked out well. I had plenty of room to put that up there and get the nuts started and kind of cinch it down. So if you're gonna get heavier, bigger springs on 3,500 pound axles, which most people probably wouldn't do, but I did. If you're gonna do that, get the longer U-bolts, and then it'll make it easier to put those up. But I got all that in. Now I'll put the front spring on and get that loosely started, and then tighten everything down, and we should be good on this side. Alright, I got all the bolts tightened up down here, so hopefully that'll do it. I can go ahead and let this down and work on the other side. I think I might let this down and then go inside and warm up my fingers so I can feel them again before I start over there. But hopefully everything's all good and it's going to work. Well, these springs make a way bigger difference than I even thought they would. I'll show you. Barely moves there. Yeah, and it lifted the trailer up a good bit too, so hopefully it won't be rubbing. I'll show you the other side. Yeah, this side is, I can barely get my hand in there even with the wood worn away. So those springs were shot. Tires are not happy either, but that's alright. We'll deal with that later. Alright, I got the second set of springs off. I don't think it was any easier, but probably felt that way because it's considerably warmer than it was yesterday. And a little tip, if you got to cut through bolts, especially hardened steel ones, with the Sawzall, because you can't fit a grinder in there or whatever, these carbide tipped Sawzall blades are awesome. They'll chop right through stuff. Like a hot knife through butter, man. I can remember cutting a lot of bolts, hardened steel bolts, before with just a regular bimetal blade, or even the better ones, the thick metal, you know, Diablo blades, and they're not as good as the carbide tipped ones. They're not cheap, but they work really well. So now that it's all out, slap new springs in and we should be good to go. Well, there we go. My new springs are in. Pretty stiff. I like it. Now I won't feel so sketchy about hauling hay with it. Well, once I address the tires. She needs tires. So once I get that done, then she'll be a good hay hauler, scrap hauler, whatever. I'm going to make the trailer haul so much weight that I'll have to upgrade the truck. Never ends. Well, we'll get our park back and I'll get some tires for it. Don't know when I'll put those on, but we'll get it done.